Alright guys, welcome back to another edition of Technique Tuesday. I want to talk to you today about cutting out things, or what's called piercing. When you cut a hole in your piece, it's called piercing the clay. So what I'm going to be showing you is I'm going to turn this little cup, bowl, wheel piece that I've made. I'm going to turn this into a candle holder, and I want light to be able to shine out through holes in the side of my container. The first thing you always want to do when you are preparing to pierce a piece of clay is, first of all, you want it to be pretty thin. If you look at the edge of my bowl here, it's pretty thin. It's not real thick. The other thing you want is you want it to be leather hard. If I give this a little squeeze, it's not going to go very far. I want it to be stiff enough that it can hold its own shape without, while I hold it and work with it. So that's step number one. Thin clay, okay, nice thin walls. This looks terrible if you do it on a fat walled piece of work. And then make sure it's leather hard so that you can handle it without damaging it. Now, I would make my lantern, my candle holder, to have the same pattern throughout the whole piece. So what I've done is I've created a little template here out of newspaper, just a little shape that I'm going to be tracing on the outside of my cup. So I'm just going to lay that on there. And the clay is still a little bit cool to the touch, so it should stick pretty well. Now, I want to make sure I stay well away from the edge of the piece, otherwise I could make a real weak spot. You want to make sure your piercing holes are not too close together, or else the section in between will likely break. So I'm going to make sure that's well away from the edge, and I'm going to start tracing. There we go. Okay, notice when I cut, I do not saw back and forth on the tool. So I'm not going like up and down in the clay. I'm pushing the tool in and moving it side to side. And I'll take it out if I need to change angle so that I get a nice sharp angle. And I'm going to pop that piece out from the back. And there's my first piece. So I'm going to continue going around and cutting all of these. Another thing is, remember, because you're not going to save this piece that you are cutting out, you don't have to cut it out as one big piece. I can cut this in sections if I need to. If that works better, go for it. There's no reason to have to cut it out in one pass. Okay, now I've cut out all of my little shapes, And you would be tempted to say, oh, okay, everything's cut out, I'm done now. But you would be very, very wrong. So let me get up close here, you'll see. Do you see all these little bits and pieces inside my the edges of my cutouts? They look a hot mess. Okay, so I am not done. I've got the cutouts in, and then the inside in particular is often quite rough. So now what you have to do is you have to go around and you need to smooth these things out. Now the best way to do that is with a damp finger. Okay, dip it in a little water and smooth them out. You can use a paintbrush or a sponge as well. But you need to, in order to get a good grade on anything involving cutouts, you have got to smooth out those edges. If they look rough and nasty and like you didn't take care of them, your grade is going to suffer. So I'm going to take a few more minutes and clean this up, and then I will be finished with my little candle holder here. Alright, much better. You can see the edges of my little cutouts are much smoother. Get this guy a little nicer looking. And it makes all the difference in the world to take that few extra minutes to smooth out the edges of your piercings. So there you have it. Try piercing on one of your projects. It is a nice way to add some detail. You can also combine this with any of the other techniques we've talked about. Incising, slip trail, I could add some texture in between these pieces. So don't be afraid to step up, kick it up a notch.